believe you hung the moon and the stars. You are.
That was You Are. We have Gary Patrick in the studio with us today. I'm pretty excited. I'm reading in your email that I got. Been performing for 30 years. That's quite some time. You want to tell us what inspired you to start writing your own songs and taking this journey?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm a hi, by the way. I'm so excited to be here, by the way. And yeah, I'm the youngest of four siblings, and my older siblings, I always wanted to be like them and listen to their music, So when I grew up, out of one radio station in the early 70s, I could hear, Willie Nelson, Gordon Lightfoot, and then I would hear Tom Petty, and you know what I mean? And then I would hear the Eagles off of the same AM station, in East Texas. And I was just filled with tons of music growing up. I kind of hijacked my brother's guitar when I was a tiny kid, and it just I didn't choose it. It chose me. Like I had to do it, I got to, I graduated school and I moved to Southern California. And at that point, I immediately started playing music for a living in nightclubs before I was even 21. So I've always had a history of just learning how to be a better singer, guitar player, and I always had a great history of just family, good Texas values, and my songwriting, it's still that. I mean, I'm 53, and right. So I grew up with a sense of innocence. That nowadays we're all flipping the iPhone out and we're scrolling, and everything you want to see is right in front of your face. I'm an older dude, and there's a sense of innocence in my lyrics that I hold dear, because we are living in not such an innocent time.
Right. No, absolutely. We're living in the middle of a spiritual warfare, whether people want to admit it or not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I was surrounded by music when I was a kid. It meant everything. You actually had to stop what you were doing and put a record on, or put an 8-track in, or put a cassette in. And so I still love that. I love sitting down and listening to a whole album. I want to hear what the artist has to say from start to finish,
Right. Do you remember back when we were had those tapes and we had to use our pencils to rewind them?
Yeah, that's why I had a pencil in the car,
Right. Back when we were using our education to further our music exposure.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's so legendary to even think of artists like Willie Nelson. And you keep saying, oh, I'm an older guy, but man, that guy is still out gigging and still doing it. And the amount of artists that I have come in contact with that have personally had experiences with him, those Texas morals and foundation and that strong family environment, it's going to really do good for you in the music scene, because that's what it really takes. It really takes building those relationships and being a genuine person. Yeah. Everything is right there on the internet. Just because they have the views doesn't mean they have the fans. It's about growing your base as a grassroots thing. And actually, it's about the journey. Really.
Well, I love what you just said. Because, nowadays it's different, the streaming platform. You just looked me up on Spotify, and for a fellow my age that, I don't live in Stephenville, I don't have a college following, and it's harder for a guy like me to blow up and have enormous Spotify numbers without a big machine behind me. You know what I mean? And I love it that Young Bucks can mass such a huge number behind them. But for a guy like me, I I get to connect with people in live performances. And so for me, what I meant to is you gotta get one organic fan at a time. That's the way it's successful. Because if somebody really loves you, man, they'll buy everything you got. You don't have to have a million of those Spotify people. You just need a few that love and follow you all over the place.
Right. And you really have to take a moment to pause and slow down and be a part of the race, not just running the race. Like, if you think about it, we're all here on social media posting. I got to get these followers. I've got to get these followers. But I guarantee you 80% of the artists listening do not have a notebook at their merch table taking emails and capturing those so that they can individually message everyone from that particular venue and building a fan base that way.
Totally.
Like, we're all chasing this big thing, but we all also need to remember to slow down and look at it while we're running.
Right.
Because there's so many, all those people sat there, and if they sat there and drank a beer and ordered another beer, they enjoyed what they were listening to, because if they didn't, they're going to get up and go.
Yeah.
Like, after 2-3 songs, they are going to leave.
Sure.
So if they're still sitting there, they're enjoying what they're listening to. Don't lose that opportunity to have the fans that are right in front of you, because you're chasing the fans that may or may not exist on social media.
Yeah, you're so right.
I build sites every day, and I try to explain this. I don't know that anybody's using it, so I'm just going to start talking about it, and then maybe it'll catch on, and people will be like, "Hey, Cynthia, I have this idea. Let's do this." Yeah. And then I'm going to be like, "Great idea. I'm glad you have it, and we're going to do this." I'm glad that you reached out and asked for us to interview. I had taken a pause on interviews, but we really do need to be doing them, maybe just not as maliciously as we had been every single day. They're time consuming, but they're important, because as we were talking off air, and as the conversation is led on to, is you have to build those relationships. It's about personal connection. It's about laying yourself out there genuinely and being open for what you receive. That's a big part too. People are good at laying themselves. They're good at, just going through the flow, but they, when people come up to them and want to talk to them and say hi, they're shut off because that was not part of the flow that they had agreed to. And we have to be open, and you have to be open to give and receive, and giving and receiving. I am excited. I see that you've done a lot of things. One thing I want to talk to you about is Las Vegas and the Bellagio Hotel, because I've actually been in the Bellagio. I was in heels and ended up in the DJ booth because there was no more tables, but I was with a bunch of celebrities. So they were like, "Oh, we're going to make room for you in the DJ booth." Okay. And being in the nightclub for so long, I'm like, where is there room in the DJ booth ever? And they actually have like a little VIP table set up there in the DJ booth. So I'm like, less than 4 feet away from the cannons blowing off in this building. And they actually control, I was in Club Hyde, which is the club that is inside of the Bellagio. One of them, I'm sure there's more than one, but that's the one I was at. And they actually control the fountains that are outside, where everybody's taking the TikTok videos and stuff. And it was a really, really cool experience. I got to, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, but Gary Trent was being inducted into the Hall of Fame as basketball. Okay. It was a really cool experience. Being able to play in, an environment of that caliber. I mean, that's a USA little, that's a legendary,
it's world
country. It's world renowned. Tell us about that experience.
Well, at the time I was living in Southern California. I'd spent 15 years there, and I did some touring. Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, his daughters Wilson, Wendy and Carnie Wilson, they had a band called Wilson Phillips in the 90s. I got to do some TV appearances with the Wilson sisters, and at the time I had an amazing band, and we were. I was recording my albums, but I was also a working musician playing corporate events and weddings and whatnot. And there was an extremely talented group of people that I played with. And we got an audition from the MGM Mirage company to come out and play in Vegas. And so we passed the audition, and we first started playing at the Mirage, which they're tearing the Mirage down right as you and I are having this conversation. I played there for 3 years. And then the president of the Mirage went over to the Bellagio, and he took us with him. And so this is about almost 10 years, and it's an education I could never have paid for. It was almost 10 straight years of 4 or 5 nights a week, every week, honing my craft, learning how to connect with an audience, learning how to work with other people, learning how to lead and inspire people, and frankly, just learning how to keep it together. Because it's hard to keep people on the same path, doing it night after night. You know what I mean?
It's not necessarily hard to keep people on the same path. It's hard to keep yourself from becoming complacent in an episode of Groundhog's Day.
Oh, yeah. Well, case in point. I mean, I found myself the club that you're at, by the way, it might have been the same room that I played in. Back when I was there, it was called the Fontana Bar, which it overlooked the fountains. It was dead center it's dead center of the fountains. And it's a huge stage, and I would look out to my left, and every night of my life, I was seeing these beautiful fountains go off, and it was elegant. And I was thanking God, thank you for this opportunity. But after a few years, that turned around to, God, get me out of here.
Going to Vegas really is an educational experience because so if you think about it, if you travel 4 or 5 hours away from your home, that's not the same type of people as in your hometown. They're like completely different people. Like they think differently. They have different verbiage, they're different. They don't walk the dog the same way we do, or so to speak. Going to a worldwide metro, like there's constantly people from every country in that city. Oh, yeah. So you're absorbing so much different culture and ideologies and just everything. I remember in that venue being an entrepreneur, it was exciting to me because I was in the DJ booth and I'm a people watcher. So I was people watching everybody and, and what was cool to see is that they had like real life bottle wars in that venue is what I was watching. And the people that I was with thought that it was like honorarily notable that that's what I picked out of my whole experience there was that the price differences in the bottle meant a different show. So like the $5,000 bottle had 4 girls, carrying a girl over their head, like Superman with a cape and a bottle. And then you had, that with a whole bunch of flashing strobe candlesticks going off. And it got up to like a $20,000 bottle. There was all the security carrying a ship with all of the women on it in the bottle, and all of the strobes were going off. And it was such a cool thing to see, and then, you're just walking down the street. You've got Elvis, you've got the flamingo dancer girls. You've got the guy with the golden elephant statue that's probably tripping on acid that thinks this thing is going to do a trick and wants you to watch it. It's an experience. It's an eye-open. It's educational for many different reasons. If you guys haven't been to Vegas, I suggest that you make sure you stay in a safe place, say your prayers before you get in an Uber or a Lyft because it's an extreme ride. I think that they need to have that on like 1,000 Ways to Die or something, riding in an Uber or a Lyft in Vegas.
I say 72 hours and get out.
Yes.
3 days is enough. I don't know how I survived 10 years, but I did, Well,
it's very fast paced.
Yeah. Well, while I was there in Vegas, I had recorded my second Americana album with a producer that I loved in Los Angeles. And right after, it was 2005 when I finished that album, but I'd met a gentleman who now 20 years later, 19 years later, we've been co-writing, and we've co-written. Now we're working on our 5th album together. But that was probably the best turning point from being a solid working musician in Vegas and having tons of experience. It was time for me to move on and to do more of an artist career, you know. So that happened in 2006. The housing bubble burst, and Las Vegas shut down as we know it, and as we knew it, and everybody lost their contracts. I moved home to Texas at that point, and I began co-writing and learning how to just be a better lyricist. And so that's been my main focus, is just to be the best writer and artist I can be. And now I'm working on my 7th album. I'm still releasing singles off of my 6th album right now.
Well, the song we heard on the intro was actually off of your 3rd album. What's the story behind that song?
I love cute ditties. It's a really cute song. It's super innocent about a guy who loves his girl, and they hold their hand in the car, she's the sugar in his coffee cup, she's the apple of his eye,
Definitely a sweet song and refreshing. If you look up the song topics for songwriters, like the top 12 are depressing. So it's always refreshing to have a happy song.
I've written my fair share of depressing songs. And, the thing is,
well, everybody, if you're in country music, has to have one good sad song, or you're not a country artist.
Artists feel like this is a deal. This is my take on it. And it's only my take, because some people live in this perpetual state where they write these songs that are heavy like that. But I think that when you first start writing music, you're writing about your personal experiences in life. That's what you're pulling from. You know what I mean? So You're pulling from your heartbreaks, your family problems, the people around you. You know what I mean? And then after a while, for me, I wanted to be more objective about life, and I wanted to lift people up. So I started writing about other people and happy things. Now I still write. There's some heavy songs that I have, but it is my heart of hearts to lift people,
And so, yeah. That is I'm glad you brought that out, because, there are a lot of artists that people are like, man, he's a great artist. But all his songs are sad songs, man. Well, you know what? Here's proof in the pudding that if you support your favorite artists, you might eventually get what you're looking for out of them.
Yeah.
We mix comedy and music at our shows once a month at our networking shows. The reason we do is because the Robin Williams story is more than just about comedy. It's about entertainment as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
You open yourself up to a life of judgment. You're constantly being criticized. Sure. You already don't ever feel good enough. Your profession is your outlet, and how you feel inside comes out. If you think about it, like if you really think that this artist sounds amazing, just support them. Let them know you care. See what happens. That's what it's about. So basically, you're telling us all of these sad songs are because the musicians haven't had enough support to graduate into their own shoes yet. They're still going through the motions. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah. I think it's always in there. I just think that I think some people are attached to, a deep, dark song is, those are memorable experiences for a songwriter. So maybe a songwriter really wants to push that because that's his or her connection to their art. I get it. I totally get it. I think there's just a balance to be had. I think the world needs to be lifted up. We've got enough darkness, Yeah,
no, absolutely. And I believe that songwriters have just as much impact on the world as the local news station, and all they pump out is negative. So we have the opportunity to be the change. We have the voices, we have the power, we have the people listening. We just have to embrace that, we have bigger shoes to fill.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes, and I like this next song that you're working on. This is actually the current release you have out, Rivers and Creeks. Tell us the story about this one.
Yeah, Rivers and Creeks. It's my message to all the young bucks. When you're out there trying to settle up the score, just be a little sweeter, talk a little softer, hold a little more. We're all busy and we're all learning how to navigate and love each other. So, yeah, it's a sweet song.
I'm going to go ahead and give you a preview. This is Rivers and Creeks.
I was just a young man learning how to love. Never knew how deep the words could cut or make you want to run. We were very new to this, but we both could deal. We covered up the scars for another time to heal. The river's gonna rise, the creeks are gonna flow. Teardrops in your eyes tell me what I need to know. Heavy hearts run downstream to a place where lyrics go. When the river's on the rise, the creeks are gonna flow.
That's your preview. You're going to have to find that song on streaming platforms, or maybe we can get it sent here to Texas Brew Radio as well. That was awesome. So what all instruments do you have playing in that song?
Well, I mean, there's the bass drums. I do all the guitar work, acoustic and electric guitar. There's probably about 20 tracks of guitar in there. And then, of course, there's pedal steel. I don't think there's any mandolin in there. But yeah, there's pedal steel. And there's a B3 organ. There's Hammond organ in there.
Maybe that's what there's something in there. Like it almost has, how Celtic music kind of has that jig to it that just makes you want to move with it. It kind of has a little bit of that like traced in there, I feel like.
Well, the drum beat, the train beat that goes, that definitely want to makes you move a little bit. But yeah, you're probably talking about the pedal steel guitar.
Maybe there's something in there. It just gave me that it wasn't strong, but it's just that little flavor of that in there. I want to talk about something else, and I'm sure that many other people remember watching this show all of the time. Rosie O'Donnell Show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that experience.
Okay. Well, I was living in Los Angeles. It was 1995, which is a lifetime ago, and a drummer that I was playing with at the time was well connected with Cliff Magnus. Cliff Magnus he's a Grammy Award-winning producer in Los Angeles. He's produced Avril Lavigne. He's written so many songs with Quincy Jones. The guy's got so many gold records on his wall. It's not even funny now, But I got a call from Cliff Magnus that said, "Hey, your drummer that you play with recommended you for this project that I'm producing, and it's Brian Wilson's Daughters. They recorded a new album, and we're gonna do several TV performances, and I need you to go do a radio tour, national radio tour." So that's what happened. There was a couple of spots where a big band flew to New York, and we played on the Rosie O'Donnell Show, which was, it's a once in a lifetime experience to get to do something like that. So it was great. It's like I got to know the Wilsons. They're great girls. Great girls.
I see that you're also nominated for Artist of the Year in the Folk Americana category for Josie Music Awards. Congratulations on that. If you
Thanks.
guys are listening, that's in Nashville in October at the Grand Ole Opry House. And it looks like you're going to be performing at the CMA Hall of Fame and Museum Theater for
Yeah.
the pre-show.
Yeah. Yeah. My band is going to play about a 20-minute set of original music there. That's also a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm just completely overwhelmed and overjoyed just to be nominated and recognized, you know?
That's amazing. I remember going, it was like my first ever road trip to Florida when I was like 8 years old, and we went through the Grand Ole Opry House. It's a really big, beautiful place and really cool to experience that young for sure.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
How do we go about finding you? Like, what social media platforms do you have? Do you have a website?
Yep, I do. My website is garypatrick.love, Love. It's not a dating website, I promise. It's garypatrick.love. And on Instagram and Facebook, I'm Gary Patrick Music. And also Gary Patrick Music on YouTube. I've got, not only do I put a lot of music on YouTube, but I also do product demos. So if you're a gearhead and you want to know about guitar amps or pedals or how to do something, I might just have a video that can teach you how to do a few things.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah. And of course you can, I mean, my music is on every streaming platform there is.
Do we have any other cool stories or things we want to share before we tell them the story about this last song we're going to preview?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm always writing and recording. You know, I play no less than 150 shows a year. If you're in the Northeast Texas area, please look me up. I have an amazing band. I mean, I've known these guys since 1986. We're so good and so funny. We're an entertaining band. It's as important as it is for me to be excellent, to be great at what I do in my craft. It's more important for me to connect with the audience. So it's always a really entertaining show. So please come check me out. I just recorded my next single will come out. Will be the second week of October. I have a new song called Montana Moon. I think it might be my most favorite song I've ever recorded. And then the week after, on the third week, it'll be released terrestrially. And then the next week, I'll be at the Grand Ole Opry House promoting that song as well. But yeah, I think you're about to talk about the song called High to Ride. Is that correct?
Yes. And your new album?
Yeah, that's High to Ride is the title track to my 6th album, High to Ride. And High to Ride, what does it mean? Well, it's not necessarily doesn't mean get smoked out and hop on a bike. It is, I mean, there is a motorcycle reference in the song, but if you've been stuck emotionally, and we all get there, we all feel like our feet are in concrete and we can't get out. When you feel like that, you do anything just to have a different view, you need something spiritually to lift you out of, the depression or the doldrums you're in. You need a new high to ride. So that's what High to Ride's about.
Heck yeah, being high on life. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Gary, for taking the time to reach out and join us and tell your story. It's been a great interview. I'm glad we got the opportunity to hang out today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time with me.
I look forward to hearing more. So when you got some new updates or you release your next song, reach out and let us know, guys. This is High to Ride.
Been a hell of a year, trying to get in gear. Stuck in darkness for so long, it feels like home. Now I'm ready to go, packed and ready to roll. Leave my shadow back behind me on the road. I need to find some high to ride, keep my feet on the ground so my soul can fly. Head on down the road tonight, with the throttle open wide. Take a state line trip to the other side. Need another high to ride. Find some